That's right, folks. I am back, and the channel is up and running with more content coming your way in the months of December, January, and so on. Let's talk about where I've been, where I am, and where I am going. You must follow the law. The law says...
Glorious. Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law with attorney Larry Forman. Folks, I have missed you guys so very much. It has been just about a month since my last video on my channel, and I do apologize. I wish I could have made more content for you all, but unfortunately, life got in the way. As you all know, obviously, I am a full-time practicing attorney. I have a firm out in Louisville, Kentucky, where we handle criminal cases, personal injury cases, wrongful death, dog bites, and so on. And you guys have answered the call. I have been flooded, and I wanted to thank you all so much for putting confidence in my firm. But that also comes with a price, unfortunately, because so many of you have reached out asking for assistance, looking for a lawyer to help you with your cases in Massachusetts, Oregon, Maine, Texas, Florida, Utah, California. I actually just got back from California over this past weekend for a hearing. You name it, I've been there. Or I have heard from somebody in pretty much, it feels like all 50 states at this point. But again, I'm not here to try and toot my own horn because this is you guys. You guys have reached out. You answered the bat signal. I put it out and I said, you guys, if you need an attorney, 1-844-774-HURT. I had no idea how many of you actually needed quality representation, and here I am. So unfortunately, I had to take a step back from the tubes for a little bit. I had to focus on my practice. I had to focus on representing all of you guys who have answered the call, and now I am able to create content as well as continuing to practice as things are kind of slowing down with the holidays. You know, the courthouses are pretty much going to be closed the last 2 weeks of December, and thank God for that because, whew, God knows I need a break. But with all that being said, up until this point, some of you who are regular visitors of the channel, you all know that I have been covering the Karen Reed civil trial. I have been in the middle of covering the Raul Valle trial up in Connecticut, and that trial is actually getting delayed because he is still looking for a new attorney. I guess he was not able to hire Mr. Smith, I think is his name, back as his counsel, which I really like him. I really like his lawyer, and that's really unfortunate that Raul is not going to get a chance to have Mr. Smith as his attorney for the second trial because he's really good. I really like the way that he's been doing things up until the point where we stopped, which wasn't too far into the trial. I think we stopped on like maybe witness number 5 or 6 or something like that. So we're going to continue that going. Now I know what you're going to say, but Larry, Brian Walsh's case is on. I know about that. I'll be completely honest with you. The Brian Walshe case was very appealing to me in the beginning, but then several things happened. Number one, the case kept getting pushed out, so it started working less and less with my schedule. And when the trial was actually finally set to begin, unfortunately, I was not able to keep up with it. As you all know, it started last Monday on December 1st, and I have not even released a single video yet about the Brian Walshe case. Now, here's my plan. First and foremost, I know we have the usual players and we have the usual suspects. The problem with Brian is that, you know, he originally was charged with 3 charges. First-degree murder, misleading a police investigation, and improper conveyance or disposal of a human body, namely Anna Walshe. Now, about 3 weeks ago, on November 18th, 2025, in a honestly not so surprising turn of events, Brian Walshe pled guilty to misleading police in their investigation and the improper conveyance of a body. Now, why did he do that? If you really think about it, there's a very logical explanation. He knew he was going to get convicted of those 2 charges, and so he decided to kind of shift the burden a little bit, if you will, back onto the prosecution rather than on himself. And yes, the prosecution has the burden to prove all 3 charges beyond a reasonable doubt. That goes without saying. But I think the evidence was so overwhelming, he decided to say, you know what, I'm just going to admit, yes, I moved her body. body. Yes, I lied to the police, but I did not kill her. Interesting strategy. So, okay, so you're leaving the prosecution with one charge, first-degree murder, and that is the only charge that he's being prosecuted for now in Massachusetts, which started on December the 1st. Truth be told, I was very, very much looking forward to covering this trial from beginning to end. I really wanted to present you guys with the direct examinations and the cross-examinations and the openings and the closings. But from what I've been hearing and from what I saw on November 18th, kind of in the background, obviously, because I've not been making content for the duration of the month of November when this all went down, I realized something. He is going to get convicted. And then, of course, I went on X after he pled and when opening statements started last week on December 1st, and I realized something else based on what everybody was saying. The defense has no leg to stand on. And so I figured it's not going to be as interesting. It's not going to be as enticing. So I'll be honest with you, I want to deliver to you all content that I think is going to excite you all, that is going to make things interesting and keep things interesting. And unfortunately, I don't see Brian Walshe falling into that category. Now, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I may be wrong. Maybe you got a little area, we want you to cover every single witness, and I'll consider it. But I also would like to be entertained. I also would like to, I don't want to sit here, for hours and hours on end recording content and just being bored, just trying to get through it for you all. I want to be excited. I want you all to be excited. I want everything to be interesting. And I don't think Brian Walshe, unfortunately, has fallen into that category. It just does not. Just because everyone else is covering it, yes, I understand, because it's Massachusetts, and God knows what's happening in Massachusetts with Turtle Boy and Lindsay Gaetani and all of that other stuff that's happening with Cosgrove, and we're going to be covering that in the sidelines, obviously, as new hearings come about with Karen Reed, again, like I said, of course, especially. But unfortunately, Brian Walshe just is not exciting me, folks. I'm sorry. I don't see this case, this trial actually going in a direction where we're going to go on pins and needles like, oh my God, what is the jury going to decide? I am convinced he's going to be convicted, and I'm convinced that he is going to get life imprisonment. So I don't know. With the Karen Reed case, if you all remember, it was just so captivating because an innocent woman was on trial for a murder she did not commit in this giant conspiracy, which I still believe 100% is still happening and continues to happen, especially in the civil court. That's why we're going to continue to cover that trial. That case is just not exciting me as much. So instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to release a trial that I just had last month in the beginning of November, one of my own trials where my client was looking at up to a year imprisonment. And I think he had like 6 or 7 charges, at least 6, possibly 7. And I will release that in a few parts here on my channel. After that, we're going to continue covering some trials that we have either talked about previously or that some of you have suggested in the comments. For instance, I keep talking about the fact that I'm going to delve into it and just still haven't had a chance because there's so much stuff out there. We have Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Kelsey Fitzsimmons, I don't think I've made a single video about Kelsey Fitzsimmons yet. So she is on my to-do list. I also have Tyler Robinson in January. Courtney Clenny is on trial in February of 2026. A lot of you have suggested an interesting case. I remember hearing about it, but I didn't know when it was going to be set for trial. The Aaron Spencer case, where his daughter, as I understand it, his daughter gets abducted. He traces her down using his cell phone, I guess pinging her cell phone or something like that, finding the guy who kidnapped his young daughter and murdering him on the spot. Now, I know there are probably a lot more details there, but oh my God, what a case. What a case. Is it self-defense? I mean, the prosecution are arguing that he left the house, or they're going to be arguing, they plan on arguing, that Aaron left the house with the intent of murdering his daughter's kidnapper. I don't know. To me, personally, that is a fascinating case. And as I understand it, it is set for trial either January or February of 2026. So I am definitely looking forward to covering that. We're also going to continue covering many other cases, like I said, like the Karen Reed civil case, the Tyler Robinson hearings, and the murder of Charlie Kirk, and all the conspiracy theories that surround that, I suppose, and much, much more, including a few distant cases that are coming up, like the Corey Richins trial. That's the woman that poisoned her husband with fentanyl. I believe that begins also in February of 2026. The Luigi Mangione, the United Healthcare CEO murder case. And last but not least, and I didn't even know this was on the radar, the Dwayne Davis jury trial. 30 bloody years after the fact, a man is being prosecuted. He's gonna go on trial in August of 2026 for the murder of Tupac. Yes, Tupac Shakur. When I saw that headline, I was like, wait a minute, is this The Onion? Is this like AI slop? No, this is real. In about 9 months from now, we're going to have our first prosecution of the murder of Tupac. So that's going to be interesting. 2026 has a lot in store for us, folks. If you need an attorney, of course, 1-844-774-HURT. Reach out to us. I'm always happy to help. Folks, I am so excited to be back. The winter is upon us in just less than a couple of weeks. Winter is going to hit here in Kentucky, and it is already cold. We had our first snow last week. And folks, I couldn't be more excited to continue sharing content with you all. And I am so excited to cover all of these trials and giving you my opinion, my legal expertise, and sharing what I have with the world, as always. So, folks, I love every single one of you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.